Welcome to Residential Tech Talks. I'm Jeremy Glowacki, Executive Editor of Residential Tech Today. This week, Chris Lehnen joins us from Portland, Oregon to talk about iRoom IO, the Apple-certified manufacturer of premium in-wall, on-wall, and tabletop docking stations and smart control solutions for iPads. Founded in Salzburg, Austria by Mark Hoffer back in 2010, iRoom products now offer features like motorized opening and closing and control functionality independent of the iPad, as well as a locking anti-theft function to enable iPads to be integrated safely into conference rooms and hotel rooms. To learn more about these cool accessories to the smart home and commercial environments, welcome to the podcast, iRoom's GM, Chris Lehnen. Chris, it's great to see you. How's the weather in Portland?
The weather in Portland, it's actually not raining today.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a pretty hellacious heat wave this last summer. So I think most Oregonians are happy to see fall, and there will be rain, guaranteed.
There always is. I remember I got to go there many years ago for the first time, and I just hit right as the gloomy season returned in the fall. And man, I wasn't ready for it. I live in the Midwest, so we get plenty of gloomy days in the winter. Trust me. So no worries.
Yeah,
there, but it is.
we are really happy with a hot cup of coffee and a beanie.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it was great to see you last month at CEDIA Expo here in my town in Indianapolis. So I thought that one of the things was I see press releases coming in for iRoom, and I look at the photos, and it's pretty clear what the product is, but you never really get a sense of it until you see it in person. And I think seeing it even on the show floor, the way you had things set up there, really gave me a better feeling for the build quality and the aesthetic elegance of the technology. If you could, for those who may be somewhat unfamiliar with iRoom IO, could you give us a little of that history of the brand? Take us back to 2010 when it was founded by Mark Hoffer. What was he doing? How did he get into the space? And then we can kind of dive into the individual products later. But I'm just really curious about that origin story on the brand.
Yeah, you got it. So Mark is an electrical engineer and worked as an electrician. And over in Europe, you have to be an electrician to do the low voltage work. And so he got into technology and, was basically a custom installer the first handful of years that he was in the business. I believe he was both a Crestron and an AMX dealer. And so he was familiar with the cost and the capabilities with the dedicated touch panels back in those days. And when Apple released the first iPad, he just, had the light bulb go off where he's like, okay, this would be a cool interface, and it comes off the wall. And so we got the idea for our first product, which was called iDock. And iDock was an in-wall dock where motors allowed you to release the iPad and go mobile with it. And we've come a long ways. The new version of iDock is now called TouchDock, and it's improved in every way. Mark sold the integration business, so we're only a manufacturer over in Salzburg, and we now have a bunch of different form factors. So besides TouchDock, where it's in-wall and motorized, we've also got our iTop series, which is both a tabletop and also an on-wall solution. Right. And then we have fixed solutions that are lower cost. So basically our brand ID with the glass and aluminum and the high quality construction carries over into the lower cost products, so that you still have great aesthetics. It's just less money.
Right. Well, looking back on the origins of docking stations, I mean, we started back with the iPod, and if I remember correctly, there was this little battle, as there always has been, between Speakercraft and Sonance with these solutions. Before the iPhone, before iPad even existed, it was the iPod, but it was just a way to have another source component in the system, and it was a cool little transition piece there moment. You served for many years on the international sales side for Speakercraft. I'm just curious
Right.
if is there any link there in terms of experience with that product line? Was that around the time you were there or before your time to get
Um,
to iRoom?
yeah, I went to work for Speakercraft in '99. I was actually working for the rep firm that represented Speakercraft up here in the Northwest for a few years before that. That's how I got to know Jeremy, and you know, he'd come to town and we'd work together, and had a blast working together. And so as Speakercraft grew, he invited me to come manage the West for him at Speakercraft, and
Oh,
I
okay.
actually did that for a long time.
Okay.
It was really just the last 3 years that I was doing international sales at Speakercraft, and that's actually how I met Mark Hoffer with iRoom. Is we shared a distributor in Germany, and
Ah,
so that distributor was having an event, and Mark and I were having a beer at the end of the day, and we just hit it off, and saw an opportunity to work together.
so that's cool. And so you've been in two different, if I'm correct, so this got a little confusing because I followed the bouncing ball for a while. I try to keep up with everybody's careers, but you get
Yeah,
to know a lot of people in this industry, and all of a sudden
for sure.
you're back with Jeremy at Origin there for a bit,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
and now you're here again with iRoom. So I guess you couldn't stay away from iRoom, huh?
Yeah, I did bounce back and forth a little bit. So after Speakercraft, I opened up a U.S. division of iRoom for
Right.
Mark,
Okay.
and so ran that for a few years. And honestly, Mark had an investment partner that thought that we were just going to take iRoom and flip it to Apple.
Hmm.
And when that didn't pan out, he kind of just stopped investing. And you know, no fault of his, but he had a plan with his money, and the plan didn't come through. And so Mark really had to go get his financial house in order.
Okay.
And so while I was working at Origin, Mark partnered up with a German company called El Taco. And El Taco, they've been around for 75 years and have a ton of experience with, you know, logistics and manufacturing, and just a lot of things that as a small company we needed to become a medium-sized company.
Hmm.
And so that partnership's been great. Mark reworked the entire line. Our marketing's better than ever. Our team is better than ever, and so it's been a good thing.
So you,
I
so
came,
so you just
yeah,
needed to kind of step away while he got the house back in order and all the
yeah,
money back in order and all that stuff, and then
yeah,
you
yeah,
jumped in.
absolutely. And we're in a really good place these days.
Nice. Well, it's everywhere I read things about the product. You talk about Apple certified, and
Yeah.
it seems pretty obvious to me that's an important thing to be in there. But what does that really take to be Apple certified? It seems like that might be an early hoop you have to jump through. But once you're there, you're just maintaining that certification, that it gives you some inside information as far as what's coming down the line to be ready for it. Is that how that works?
Well, Apple's pretty, they play their cards pretty close to the chest when it comes to new products.
Okay.
Basically, that means that when we need help, they provide it. You know, we've got a main point of contact over in their European office. We use their certified parts, which you know, Apple has the ability to basically kill uncertified products
Hmm.
with an iOS update. And so that doesn't happen with our products, which is a good thing because they're premium products and they come with premium cost. And
Hmm.
so everything just works as Apple likes it to.
Okay. And you're you're dealing with a lot of cool little mechanical pieces here with as far as um, motion sensors and battery management stuff,
Right.
and making it all really kind of cool, very custom feeling, but obviously it's a standardized process. All of that is handled out of Austria, or do you have like most manufacturers, you have to go a lot of places to get it all together into a product? How's the manufacturing part of that work? I'm just curious.
Yeah, manufacturing is all done in Austria.
It is. Wow. Okay.
It is. The software development is now done up in Germany at El Taco's facility.
Okay.
And so that piece of it went to the sister company.
Okay.
But manufacturing is all done in Austria with the current line. And knock on wood, we're actually doing a really good job of keeping up with receiving parts and manufacturing. And luckily, we're not having the same back order issues that a lot of manufacturers are having these days.
Yeah, well, that is a really good thing about controlling some of that, and keeping it fairly well contained there. Obviously, you
Yeah,
still have to source pieces here and there, but
right.
I do want to get into kind of talking about the new products and the specific features of those, and some of the vision for the future for the brand. But first, I need to just take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our conversation with iRoom's Chris Lehnen.
For those who invest in premium private cinema and demand the very best in picture and sound, Kaleidescape delivers the perfect cinema experience. Kaleidescape is the world's only ecosystem for downloading, storing, and playing lossless, reference-quality movies without buffering or compression artifacts. Kaleidescape's Terra servers and Strato players provide limitless scalability for storing and playing movies throughout your home. With full home automation integration, transform any space into a personal cinema to enjoy Kaleidescape's growing library of over 12,000 movies, TV series, and concerts, and the world's largest downloadable collection of lossless 4K HDR movies with Dolby Atmos. Learn more at Kaleidescape.com.
Welcome back. I'm Jeremy Glowacki, and I'm talking with iRoom's General Manager, Chris Lehnen, and we're going to turn the page in terms of general conversation into more specifics about products. So I know that over the past 12 months, you've been working to rebrand after some of that changeover you were discussing earlier, refreshing the line, and I saw some of that in the booth there at CEDIA. So you started to sort of touch on some of the branding. What are the models, to kind of take us through the line a little bit, and what are some of the specifics of each one, and why, besides size, you would want one over another in the line?
So the TouchDock series is really our flagship. So that's the newest version of our in-wall motorized. And so we now have 4 models of TouchDock. We just released the TouchDock Mini last week, which the Resi guys are going to love because it's a smaller footprint, and designers are going to like that smaller print on the wall. The most popular TouchDock is the 10-inch, and that's primarily because the 10.2-inch iPad is the lowest cost and seems to be the best selling. But then we also support the iPad Pros and iPad Air with our TouchDock 11 and 12. And so the cool thing about the TouchDock series is that as Apple releases new iPads, they're always going to be a little different, right? Mm-hmm. And so we can support the new iPad by selling the dealer a kit that allows them to update their TouchDock from current model to new model.
Okay. So that's like a common. I remember hearing you have a common back box on earlier models that kind of allows you to make adjustments as the sizes change.
Yeah, well, one thing that we've always done is we use this one back box, and that means that a dealer can go out and update a dock from 8 years ago without having to do drywall patch or cut the hole bigger or anything like that, just by removing the old dock, taking the same wire, plugging it into the new dock, and mounting it to the back box. Mm-hmm. Now, the only exception to that is that we just came out with TouchDock Mini, and again, it's got that smaller footprint. So we now have a different size, but I think that's okay. As Apple comes out with new iPad Minis, we'll just sell the dealer a kit so that they can update it.
Okay. Some of what folks may not be aware of are those the hard buttons that are outside the actual docking area, so you can have some control beyond just the iPad itself. The idea being that you can maybe, if you need it to be a light control dimmer button or something like that there for that room, you don't have to engage the iPad to actually adjust the lights if you don't have a light switch right there. I'm assuming that's kind of what the idea was there, or any other features you need to get to really quickly, right?
Yeah, it's basically shortcuts.
Uh-huh.
Not every user is comfortable with getting into an iPad and finding the control app and then finding the lighting page in order to turn a light on.
Right.
And so we have that integrated keypad that's fully programmable and fully customizable. And so the integrator has the ability to provide shortcuts to their clients. And it could be a single command, or it could be a macro to make a bunch of things happen. And we've got drivers available for all the major control brands. And so I think 95% of the dealers out there would be able to put that keypad to use.
Okay. And are you seeing that most of the time what we're dealing with here with your dealer base is that they're integrating with the control system, and that this becomes an alternate to a proprietary touch panel from a manufacturer?
Yeah, we see dealers primarily, integrating our products in with their systems. But then every once in a while you get, just a big iPad enthusiast that wants to have a cool dock, and the aesthetics and the fit and finish is really nice. And now that we've got a bunch of color options available for the iTop series, designers are really loving the fact that they can get a black on black or a rosé and white iPad dock and stick it on the kitchen counter or the nightstand or in the theater room. They really tie in well.
Yeah, so that is someone who just wants a place to secure their iPad, where you're talking about that enthusiast, right? So they can use it however they would use it in that room, but they just don't want to have it disappear on them, like fall between a cushion or something.
Yeah, exactly. Kitchen counters are probably the most popular with residential applications.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Think about all the things you do in a kitchen, whether it's checking out a recipe or watching a TV show, or having a video chat with your family or friends.
Sure.
But then the iPad can come off the dock and go to the kitchen table or to the backyard, and you can do everything you do with an iPad in those spaces.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking more of the end wall, because that seems to be such a big focus for the company, but it's that tabletop docking as well as a option for that. So
right.
When you talk about the anti-theft protection, that's just as simple as having a button code push to release the iPad.
Yeah. So all I call our three main categories basically solutions, and all of the touch dock, the iTop, and the iTop on wall. You do have the ability to remove the iPad, but you also have the ability to lock it down. Mm-hmm. And we're really the only ones out there that give you both capabilities. And so with touch dock, for example, if the iPad is docked and it's set to be a secure dock, mm-hmm. then you can unlock the iPad a few different ways. You can enter in a 4-digit code in order to unlock it and open it up. Or you can get into our app, which is password protected, and you basically just hit the open button.
Okay.
Or we're also working with voice control companies so that you can just ask for your iPad to be released.
Great. And so there's a lot more going on in the future with the way you can control things. And you mentioned to me at CEDIA, and we were just talking a little bit before we recorded about the idea of IO smart control.
Right.
So where does that fit in, and what does what is that, and how does that work exactly for the future for the brand?
Sure. So that's going to be a brand new category. Currently, our business is premium iPad docks. But we've been working on a line of relays, and it's actually going to be a line of relays and switches. And basically, it's going to be a universal problem solver. So whenever an integrator's out, most likely it's going to be on retrofit projects where they don't have a wire to control a light or a shade. We'll have a relay that will have drivers for all the major control brands, so that um, we're going to be a universal problem solver when it comes to controlling lights or shades. Now that relay it can go behind any switch to allow for Wi-Fi control with any of the control brands. But there are going to be times where the relay doesn't fit behind the switch. And so we're also working on our own line of switches as well. That'll be a lot smaller and a lot easier to install.
So that just becomes more of a contained control solution then from your company, as opposed to having to look for other brands to make things kind of play together, I guess.
Yeah. We think that it's going to be a real handy problem solver. I would imagine a lot of integrators would just keep a couple on their truck. When the dealer says, "Hey, we'd like to add a light over here after the project is finished," you don't have to cut a bunch of holes in the wall and ceiling in order to get a wire to that position. You can just add this wireless relay and sync it up with your control system, and you're off and running.
Great. Well, like I said, we saw each other at CEDIA, so you got to do an in-person thing. I don't know if you do the other regional events for CEDIA, but I know you have InfoComm coming up, because that's always a show for you. So
yeah,
how is it with working with the commercial side of the business? Obviously, that's probably where that security option comes in really well for boardrooms and hotel rooms and that sort of thing. So you have a little bit of a different pitch or approach when you're talking to those folks at InfoComm?
Not really. I mean, because we're the only ones that allowed the iPad to come out and also lock it down, and aesthetics is really a big thing with our line. The stuff just looks beautiful, and whether it's a residential or a commercial integrator, they recognize that, and then add the integrated keypad so that you can provide shortcuts. And just a lot of the things that we've done to overcome the objections of using an iPad. For example, a lot of people say, well, we don't use iPads because the batteries get hot and they swell up, and then we're liable for replacing that iPad. Mark and his crew over in Austria came up with a technology that basically knows when the battery's full, stops charging the battery, and trickle charges the screen. So you avoid that heat issue, which causes the battery to swell up. And so pretty much all of the issues with using iPads has been addressed with this brand.
Yeah, that's a great little addition, because I don't think any of us really know when we're charging something if we're overdoing it, or we need to let things drain to completely dead before we recharge them anymore. So to have that assurance is a really nice one. Is there any other feature or model specific detail that we haven't covered that you'd like to touch on before we wrap up?
We didn't talk much about the iTop series. So I mentioned earlier that iTop tabletop and iTop on wall are both basically different form factors of our products. And the cool thing about the iTop series is that there's an adjustable charging connector. And so we all know that Apple's going to make changes when they come out with new iPads. And so if you've got a bleeding edge type client that always wants to buy the new iPad Air, as they buy their new iPads, they may have to adjust the connector up or down slightly to accommodate. But that's okay. That's what it's built for.
Okay.
That's also handy if you've got multiple users in the home or office. where they can, adjust down to accommodate iPad mini or adjust all the way up for the big iPad Pro. And then iTop series comes in 14 different color combinations. And so if somebody wants black on black, or if they want apricot and white, it sounds like a weird combination, but it looks really sharp.
Yeah.
So iTop series is great for future compatibility with iPads, and there's also a design element with the colors.
Great. Well, I know you've been working on your sales team and all that. When there's a company, a dealer out there that maybe hasn't worked with you in the past, what's the best first step for them to get in touch, or to find out what, how to get connected to the brand?
Just email us. Our general email address is officeus@iRoom.io. And so both myself and a couple of team members are connected to that account, and we'd usually get back same day.
That's great. Well, it's always great talking to you, Chris. I enjoyed seeing you and seeing the products. Yeah, and they're really, really well built and beautiful. And when you see the motorization working, it's just a very cool thing that you just don't realize. It's just so smooth and elegant. So I think everyone needs to try to see it in person. A demo is possible. So
for sure. We will be at Infocom, and I just did the Southern California Tech Summit last week, which was really well attended, actually. And we'll probably do the Florida event as well. It should be most likely a little better attended. So we're getting out there and showing our stuff to everybody, and we really appreciate the attention, Jeremy.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you. And those in-person opportunities are great, and I know that the tech summits they're happy to have those back in action. And I think the smaller events are just really important for the industry as we all deal with like time constraints and things like that. So definitely everybody check out, if you're in the Florida market, if you can get there, or if you're headed to Infocom. Chris Lehnen, thanks so much for taking the time to chat today.
Thank you. Yeah, you got it. Thank you, Jeremy.
Chris Lehnen is general manager for iRoom.io, the Apple certified manufacturer of premium in-wall, on-wall, and tabletop docking stations for iPads. You can learn more about the brand at iRoom.io. That wraps up today's show. If you're new to Residential Tech Talks, please subscribe to the weekly podcast and consider rating and reviewing us on your favorite platform. Also, check out all the latest residential tech news at the magazine's website, restechtoday.com, where you can also subscribe to the bi-monthly print or digital magazine and to our Tuesday and Friday email newsletters. Until next time, please stay safe, stay inspired, and let us know if you have a great story to tell.
Residential Tech Talk, lighting specialist, Residential Tech Talk,
Home automation, smart device, home or smart house.